Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. I'm really excited today. I have another guest to share with you. If you're watching on YouTube, I am looking down because I have notes and I also have my pen because I'm going to be writing notes as we go along. If you're listening to this on audio, then obviously you don't need to worry about that at all. So this is season 5, and so far in season 5, we have covered the fact that I'm doing this Tough Mudder in September, the why and the how I got into it, and about having confidence in ourselves, saying yes, all that good stuff. And it's really important to me to share all this. Like my day-to-day, I am a wellness accountability coach. Mainly I hang out on Instagram. So if you're new, this is what I'm doing. If you haven't listened to any of my previous podcast episodes, please go back and have a listen. There's a wealth of information there for you. But wellness is my passion and I just want to keep sharing it. But it's important to get all the other levels of information into this as well, because it's not all great. Like we all have our ups and downs, and I think it's important to share everything. So it's my pleasure, without further ado, to invite Emma. I'll just invite her into the stream. Hi, Emma. Welcome.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
I'm really good, and I'm really excited for our chat. I know we've chatted on Instagram, but we haven't actually kind of met face to face yet, have we? So it's exciting.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you. You look really well.
Oh, thank you so much. So can you tell everybody briefly what it is that you do and why you hang out on Insta?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Emma from Ask Emma Social. So I set up my business back in lockdown, so 2020, and I'm a social media manager. So I look after business accounts online for busy mums in business, whether they're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. So I help them to have a consistent, visible presence on social media for their businesses, so they can spend less time online and more time at home with their family and doing things that matter to them.
Fabulous. And it's such an important balance to have. And I know we can't really do today's podcast without mentioning Threads, because it's out there, we're all discovering it, and it is going to impact our lives whether we're wanting it to or not. But I think this is really important. So I know that normally you are working with businesses, but actually we can translate that into everyday life really easily. And so doing things like doing a Tough Mudder. Have you done a Tough Mudder?
I haven't done a Tough Mudder, no. It's something that is on my list, so I would like to do it at some point. I don't know why I'm putting that off, but I have for some reason. But I've done like cancer research. They do those Race for Life. I've done quite a few of those in the past. They've been really good to do because it's a lot of like community people there that, people that have been affected by cancer personally, but also people that are obviously, running in memory of other people that have lost, their lives to it. So, it's a really nice sort of thing to do because it's not just fundraising and running. There's a meaning behind it. So I think with Tough Mudder, obviously the challenge that you go through and the personal development side of it and, doing the training for it and things like that. Obviously that's a really key point of it because you're doing that journey, aren't you, to get to there to where you are. So it's not just about the activity itself, it's about getting yourself ready to do it, and having the confidence in yourself to do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And you hit on a really key word there, which is like the community behind like the Race for Life things that you were describing. But Tough Mudder is all about community, and it's not about the fastest or who completes what, although you can have that personal challenge, but it's definitely about arriving on your own, not knowing anyone, and leaving with part of a family almost, because you've all been through that same experience. And I know that's exactly why my son loves it, and I'm sure that we will have the same experience once we get into it. But immediately you start anything new, or sign up for a new challenge, you immediately start to compare yourself, don't you? And the comparison thing comes in. And this is why I wanted to talk to you today. And I think it's relevant for this season of the podcast because comparison is a massive thing when we're on social media. It really impacts our mental health, like how we start speaking to ourselves. And I guess because we've got threads out there today, there's going to be a lot of that going on. You know, I've already seen people saying, oh, I've got this many followers. And, you know, our self-worth does not matter about how many followers we've got on any app. So I think it'd be really interesting for everyone to hear kind of your take on how it impacts our mental health and kind of what we can do to help ourselves, to protect ourselves a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the comparison thing is something that's been around for quite a while now, hasn't it? Especially since like the rise of social media, and then you've got Facebook and now Instagram, and it's very easy to, you know, compare people's feeds to what you've got and think, oh, you know, they're doing better than me, I need to be more like them. You know, all those types of thoughts come into your head, because it is just a natural thing to do when, especially when you're at home. I think it escalated a lot more when we were all in lockdown, because there was nothing else to do. So it was just literally you were scrolling on your screen, looking at what everybody else is doing. And I think that really escalated that issue. But obviously now that we're out of lockdown, it's still very much there. But yeah, I think there's a big shift happening at the moment online, which I like to see, which is people being a lot more real and vulnerable and just being themselves. And it's kind of moving away from the, you know, the flashiness of, you know, oh, I've lost all this weight and in 3 days, and I've done this fad diet, and I've, you know, it's kind of moving away from that, actually watching people that are doing it the right way, and following a journey and a plan, and having, you know, someone that supports you along that journey is a lot more focused than, you know, this latest new thing that's out that doesn't always work. Because I know from working with a nutritionist as one of my clients, you know, a lot of the clients will come to her when, you know, they're looking to lose weight, and they'll say, oh, I've tried everything, I've tried all these diets, I've tried all these like fad things that are all over the internet, and they just don't work because they're quick fixes, and, you know, it just doesn't sustain, it's not sustainable. So you know, that's a problem with social media, is that you can easily, you know, get sucked into following the wrong type of people, the wrong type of accounts, and actually thinking, oh, actually I need to look like them. But when you have an audience and a following in there that you actually create yourself, so you can curate your own audience and follow the people that you want to follow. So you can make your Instagram profile and your news feed, I should say, more of a community of people that, you know, inspire you, as opposed to make you feel rubbish about yourself. Because you can very easily, you know, pick and choose who you follow. You at the end of the day, you are in control of what you see on your social media. So just always remember that. And if there's anyone on there that maybe triggers you, and maybe not necessarily in a nasty way, but just by seeing their account, it triggers you, you can always mute them. So a lot of people worry about blocking or unfriending people because they don't actually want to fall out with the person.
Of course.
Perhaps they're just going through a phase in their life where they just don't really want to see what's going on there, and it's not good for their own mental health. So in a way, that the best thing to deal with that type of thing is to mute them, and they won't get a notification then to say that you've, you know, muted them. It's just a way of you being able to then make sure that you're seeing what you want to see in your feed. And you can also always unmute them again in future, and they won't know any different. They won't know that that's happened. But sometimes it's just what you need to do for yourself, because you have to kind of look at what's making you feel good and what's not making you feel good online. And with this new Threads app coming out, obviously there's a lot of pressure and a lot of hype, you know, to go and have a look at it and then get on there straight away while it's launching. But actually, you know, some people might feel a bit like, oh, I don't know what to post. I'm new to this. I don't know what this app's about. And let's be honest, we all are new to it. It's a brand new platform. Absolutely. It's only just come out today. So none of us are going to know, you know, the kind of procedure of how to deal with an app that, you know, is brand new. However, I think just be yourself is the key message that I always say to people. You know, don't try and sort of be someone that you're not, or kind of emulate someone else, because at the end of the day, people follow you on your social media for you to obviously get connected with you. And again, from like a personal point of view, it's your friends and your family. If you don't use it for business, which I know a lot of your audience won't necessarily use it for business, but even if you used it for your own personal friends and family, you'll know yourself that you get so much more engagement and you know, kind of comments and things when you post about your personal life, because people like to know what you're up to.
Yeah.
So that it's kind of finding that balance, isn't it, between sort of sharing what you're doing and obviously celebrating your wins and your successes, because there's nothing wrong with doing that online. But also being mindful of the fact that, you know, sometimes people will be in a different place than where you are. So you might be going through a really great time and great period in your life, and of course you want to share that with your friends and your family and your supporters, but at the other side of it, there'll be other people on the other side of the screen that maybe aren't going through such a great time. So yes, it's a hard balance to meet, but I think you can do it in the right way. It's just a case of kind of thinking about what you're putting out there and how that's going to impact other people, especially if it's to do with like things like weight loss and keeping fit and healthy and exercise and things like that, and what you should or shouldn't do, because obviously everyone has their own opinions on it. It's one of those things, isn't it, which divides opinions online. So, you know, you need to be mindful of the fact that there'll be people in your audience that maybe think differently to what you think as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely. And you know, if we translate what you just said about being on the app to being in our lives, and, you know, for our wellness, it's exactly the same, isn't it? I like to think of it as, you know, like stepping into a room. You wouldn't keep stepping into the same room if it made you feel really, really uncomfortable. And, you know, for me personally, I love interacting with people, but I also know that to recharge my batteries, I have to be on my own. That's just how it is. You know, go for a walk, be out in the garden. But I do need a break from people. And it's exactly the same with being on an app. You know, if I'm on it all the time, my brain just wants to melt, really. But you're exactly right. You know, it's an app. We are in control. We can make the choices. And, you know, the mute thing is ideal because, again, this is just the same as in normal life. You know, if you're seeing someone, some people really spark energy and some people kind of drain your energy, don't they? And you wouldn't keep going back to get drained. You would take a little bit of a break, or you'd have like a couple of days without maybe seeing that person. And so I think all of these things are really important for us to remember just in everyday, you know, walk of life. I know when I started training to be a yoga teacher right at the beginning, one of the hardest things was that you watch everybody else do these amazing shapes and you think, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and my body's not doing that, so I must be bad at it. And even now, it upsets me so much when I hear people say, oh, I can't do yoga, I'm rubbish at it, because actually making the shape is not what yoga's about. You know, that's just like an end product. The journey is all the things you find out about yourself getting to that point. You know, you learn so much about yourself. And yeah, the comparison then just goes once you realize that actually it's just about me. What I'm doing doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. And so I think it translates really, really well. It is really good. And I know the thread thing, like, it's mental today. It's all anybody's talking about. Like, my Instagram is literally filled with all these pictures of threads. It will calm down, won't it? And then we'll decide whether we want it in our lives or not. I'm on the fence. I don't know if I'm going to be a threads person or not. I was never Twitter. I never knew what to put. So we'll see.
I'm the same. I wasn't on Twitter either.
No.
Just too much negativity on there for my liking, I think. And I just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't align. I think you get aligned to certain platforms, and I particularly like Instagram more so than other ones, just because I feel like it's just a nice community building place, and you can just meet people like all different walks of life, all different backgrounds and things, and just end up collaborating and working together. It's just amazing. I just find it a really good place to do that, especially for my own business, but even on a personal point of view, I think it's good as a personal profile as well. So it's just hard when, I suppose, with Instagram it's very visual.
Yes.
Whereas I think this Threads one, although you can do obviously images and GIFs and videos, I feel like at some point it's probably going to go more sort of text based.
Yes.
To kind of separate it from other platforms, which is kind of what Twitter is, isn't it? It's like short, snappy text tweets. So I think it's going to be one of those types of platforms. But social media is always changing. There's always going to be a new app. It was TikTok, during lockdown. Now it's Threads. In 2 years' time, there'll be another thing and another thing. it'll always change. But yeah, just always be open to learning about the new. I love learning about all the different platforms that are out there. I think it's really
absolutely. And they all offer something different, don't they? Like you say, I mean, I must admit, I'm an Instagram person. I do have Facebook. I have it mainly for groups, which I find really helpful, but I don't go on there as a day-to-day. Instagram is where I like to hang out. The threads, at the moment, I'm finding it quite nice. And like you say, it seems to be quite a positive place. Instagram, the feel good of Instagram seems to have come with it. So I hope it stays. And actually, I quite like the fact that it's just words, because if you're not a particular creative person with pictures or tech, you can still get your point across, can't you, without having to worry about, am I doing it like everybody else is doing it? I remember when the Reels thing came on Instagram, first of all, and everyone started doing those dances. And I was like, I can't do that. If that's what Reels is, I'm not doing it.
That was it, wasn't it? It was either pointy fingers or dancing, which was because, again, that was copying trends from TikTok, because TikTok was all about that. And that's how it was kind of growing. So people kind of just followed that trend. But then over time, I think now, the Reels have definitely changed. I think now it's more about kind of just making it more authentic content. So, you've got these B-roll content that you can make where it's just literally secondhand content that you've got on your phone. Maybe you've just been at the beach or had a coffee or, walking down the street, and, all these types of short, snappy reels that on their own don't really serve a purpose. But then when you add text to it, whether that's sort of educating your audience or whether it's going to be, sharing a quote or favorite quote of the day or whatever it is, then it makes it more kind of personal to you and your brand and your business. So they're really popular at the moment.
Yes, they are. I must admit, I like how they've settled. I'm definitely within that world now, but before I couldn't do that. So what other tools are there on Instagram that we might not know about that we can use that help sort of protect us a little bit when we're getting overwhelmed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to be honest, Instagram have made a big change, over the last sort of year or so to kind of focus on the mental health side of things, because they recognise that it's a big issue for people that use the platform. So they try their best to kind of obviously introduce features that are going to assist you with that. So I know at the moment, obviously, you can check your time spent on social media through your phones as well. So you can go in your settings on your phone and you can see how many hours a week. I mean, mine's quite scary, but I am a social media manager, so I use that as an excuse. But yeah, you can see how many hours you've spent on a particular platform per week and whether it's going up or down. I mean, sometimes mine can be, 17, 20 hours, which doesn't sound a lot. But then if you think in a week, that's, an average of like 5 hours a day, which isn't great. So yeah, it's that side of things is quite scary, but also good to know. And I think it's good that we do have access to that data, because we can see it then in front of ourselves and be like, right, okay, we need to be a bit more conscious of how much time I spend on the app here. So one of the things you can do, so how can you kind of like control this then? There's an app called, on Instagram, there's a feature, I should say, called quiet mode. So this is a bit like having an out of office for your Instagram profile, basically. So you can set this up and it will automatically schedule the time that you want it to turn on. So say, for example, you don't really want to be getting notifications on your phone from Instagram after, say, 6 p.m. at night. So you're happy to receive them during the day, but after 6 p.m. you just want no notifications coming through on your phone. You can set that up to start at 6 p.m. and then it will stay on there for 12 hours, so till 6 a.m. the next morning. It means then during that time when you're in quiet mode, you won't get any notifications coming through on your phone from Instagram. And also when people direct message you during that time that you're in quiet mode, they'll get a little notification on their screen to say this person is now in quiet mode, just so that you're aware that if you don't get a response, it's just because they're away, basically. So a bit like an away mode, if you like, on your Instagram profile. And I really like it because it just means then that you know, you can kind of switch off without having to worry, oh, if someone messages me, they're going to think I'm ignoring them. Or, you know, they at least know that if you're in quiet mode, you're not necessarily going to pick the message up until the next day. And also, if they do need to get in touch with you urgently, I'm pretty sure they would have another contact number that they can get hold of you, like a WhatsApp number or whatever. So, you know, it's just a way of you being able to break free from, you know, having to scroll and do everything on Instagram in the evenings, especially for my clients, because obviously I work with busy mums in business. So, you know, they want their evening times to spend with the children, to, you know, be around the family, to be, you know, cooking with the family and the friends. Don't be sat there with their phone pinging every 5 minutes, notifications, and being distracted from spending that quality time with their family. So yeah, it's just it's just a nice feature to know about in case you didn't, because I've recently talked about it on my stories, and quite a few people said to me, I didn't even know that this existed, because I would use it if I had have known. So yeah, it's just worth telling your audience about that. So I thought I'd bring that up today, just in case you didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant one. And actually, I didn't know about it until I saw you talking about it on Instagram, and I have used it, and it is really good. And I just wanted to come back just to what you were saying about looking to see how much time spent on your it's not just Instagram, is it? It's on all of the different things on your phone,
all of them.
Which is amazing. And I'm like you. I mean, my business basically runs through Instagram. So that's where I spend most of my time. And sometimes I look at it and think, oh my God, have I really been on there that long? And then I justify, well, you know, I've done this and this. So that's, you know, it's all good. But actually, that's something that I challenge my clients with when they say to me, you know, oh, well, I couldn't work out today, or I couldn't go for that 10-minute walk because I just didn't have time. And I'm like, how long were you on your phone for? You know, and if you are looking at your phone and like, well, I've been on my phone for 6 hours, but I couldn't fit in a 10-minute walk. Maybe there's something that we can do to adjust that level. So it does help us a lot. And the quiet mode is brilliant. I'm literally just launching a sleep workshop at the moment, and this fits in perfectly because you don't want to be on your phone just before you're going to bed. You don't, you know, even if you plug it in away from you on the other side of the room, if it's pinging, we can't help it as humans, can we? We have to go and have a look. We have to see what's going on.
Yeah, so, it's natural reaction, isn't it? You just you have to know what it is. What is the notification? So
we're curious creatures.
Alert, aren't you?
Yeah. So, I mean, quiet mode, I think that's absolutely brilliant. I love that. And yeah, I've definitely used that a lot. I think that's really good. Really good. What's the one thing that you use the most, do you think, that really helps you?
For Instagram, I would say stories is probably my favorite. Just because I feel like I can be myself more in my stories because I'm talking to the camera. It wasn't something that I found easy straight away, for sure. I really struggled with showing up and talking on my stories, but now I've been doing this now for 3 years, and I've kind of got to a point where I kind of know all people that are following me, people that like me and want to know from and hear from me. So I've honestly, and touch wood, never had any trolls come through on my Instagram ever. I've never had any nasty messages. So I know that obviously it would probably be a bit different if I'd maybe had a different experience in regards to that. However, I think now I'm kind of at a point where, you know, I can kind of think, well, the only opinions that really matter to me are the people that I care about. And a troll isn't someone that I would care about. So their opinion doesn't matter to me. And that's something I kind of stick with, because I know that's another reason why people you know, don't always feel comfortable going on social media and, you know, showing up as themselves and being vulnerable and, you know, being authentic in what they say. But actually, you know, the trolls are the ones that are kind of hiding behind the keyboards and the screens. So, you know, if you're being brave and putting yourself out there, then, you know, you're the better person in my eyes anyway. So that's how I always kind of look at it. If anyone, and what you'll normally find as well, especially with places like Instagram and LinkedIn, is that your audience, if you do get any nasty comments in the actual thread underneath your post for whatever reason, or your live, if you've done a live and you get these trolls comments, then your community will kind of band you up and kind of, you know, support you and go against what they're saying. So sometimes you don't even have to get involved yourself. I've seen that
Yeah.
happen on a number of accounts that I follow, and it's good to know that you've got those people in your community that will actually support you as well. But yeah, don't let someone else's troll experience or anything like that put you off being yourself online. Just always be yourself.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I mean, I use my stories quite a lot and I go live quite a lot. But in the beginning, I must admit, I did find it quite hard. But there's something about just talking to my phone when there's no one around. It doesn't really feel like it's me. It doesn't feel like it counts. So I was just saying to my husband before we jumped on this podcast, normally I podcast on my own, and having guests is a new thing for me. I get really nervous. I get really excited, but I get really nervous. And it's funny how talking to someone creates that, whereas I can sit here all day long and chat to myself. I have no problem, and then I can put it out into the ether and whatever happens. But yeah, I don't know why that is. It's funny. And my son is exactly the opposite. So he also has a podcast and he always has guests. And this week he had to do one where it was just him and he was so worried about it. Now, it's very interesting how we're all so different, and little things that worry one person. I always think that we're very hypercritical, aren't we, of ourselves? And, there are things that I'll notice when I do something and I think, oh my God, that's terrible. But nobody else sees it. It's just me. And I think that, again, comes back to the whole comparison thing, doesn't it? Is that you see other people doing it and then you're like, oh my goodness, that's one of the things I have about Tough Mudder. I'm like, how am I going to be able to do all of these things but then I watch it and I think, God, there's all ages, sizes, genders of people. There's no one fits the box rule. So we're going to give it our best shot.
I think you'll surprise yourself. I really do. I think you'll do amazing. But you're right. It's a nice mix of different people, different ages, different body sizes and shapes, and you're all there just doing what you can. So there's no. I like the fact that there's no competition as well. Like it's not, like a race of who's going to finish first. And because that can be something that puts people off, doing exercise and things like that. If they're getting involved in like running clubs or things like that, it can always feel sometimes a little bit competitive. But I think when you do challenges like that, like you say, there's a proper community feel, isn't there? And it just feels so much more different and more enjoyable. And that's what you want, isn't it? When you're doing things like that, you want to enjoy it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we haven't even done it yet, and I've already had people reach out and say, "Oh, we're going to that one. We'll give you a wave, and you'll be fine." And you just think, "Oh, that's so nice, isn't it?"
It is.
So
it's like a camaraderie, isn't it, of people like getting behind it. So yeah, no, totally. I love that. Really
I think the biggest thing I've got to get over is being muddy.
I know. But everyone's going to be in the same boat, aren't they? Everyone's going to have mud all over the face and everywhere. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I think it'd be so much fun. I think you'll absolutely enjoy it. When is it you do it?
So we're doing it on the 23rd of September. So we're volunteering the day before. It's quite nice to volunteer and be part of their community to help, isn't it? So we're going to volunteer on the Friday, and then I say we're running. We're not actually running. We're going to walk, but it'll be fine.
Well, it doesn't matter how you do it.
It doesn't.
No, and that's it. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. At the end of the day, you're doing an amazing thing. So
yeah, absolutely. It'll be good fun.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on today, Emma. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. It's so nice. Is there anything else that you want to tell everybody, about where they can find you, or anything that you've got going on in your world that you want to share at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, just follow me on Instagram. My main platform is Instagram. I am on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Ask Emma Social, all one word. And yeah, by all means, just, follow my stories, follow my posts. And if you do want to work with me, there's a link on my bio that you can click, and there's different options there of how you can work with me. I do like monthly management for social media, but I also do power hours where you can do a content planning call if you just want a bit of support with doing it and then doing it yourself. So all different options on there. Just go and check it out and see what works for you.
Fabulous. Super. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you go, and I'm sure we will speak soon on Instagram.
And you take care. Speak soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Okay, so that was Emma, and that was such a lovely chat. I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I hope you found that really interesting and insightful. Like, there's lots of good stuff on there about how we can use social media for our best interests, but also how it relates into our everyday life with our own personal wellness. I will make sure that all of the tags and info that you need are in the show notes. And so thank you so much for listening to this podcast today, and I will speak to you all very soon.